What's good, everybody? Alright, rhnisker coming to you with the next round 5 of the Next Great Yugituber. First off, I want to thank everybody, including Underworld and everyone else who supported me and supported my videos to getting me to this point in this contest, because honestly, I couldn't have done it without you guys. Now, after going back through some of the past videos in this contest from the past rounds, I've noticed that we've covered a lot of topics, having top 32 going to top 16, top 8, top 6, and there have been a ton of different discussions and topics that these videos have spoken of. But one topic is usually a fan favorite, but really has not seen any light in this contest. The topic I'm talking about is the anime, and the anime is something we all love. I'm sure we've all seen either the original episodes, or some of us still watch up to Zexal. Personally, I stopped at 5Ds. Zexal was okay, but it didn't really keep me engaged, and didn't really love it. But there is something that I love, and I really have done a lot of research on, and that I really am fascinated by from almost all the animes, and that being the antagonists of each anime. Now, what I love about the Yu-Gi-Oh anime is that there are tons of different antagonists throughout the entire series, whether they're minor or major. They all play a big role, and they all have very unique and different play styles and styles of how they want to achieve their evil goal. That's why in this round's video, I'm going to be doing the top 10 antagonists from the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, being the shows or any of the movies. Hope you guys enjoy. Starting off with the number 10 spot is Anubis, the main antagonist of the Yu-Gi-Oh movie Pyramid of Light. Besides being an all-around badass character, Anubis was able to manipulate and control one of the most hard-headed and skeptical characters ever in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Along with his infamous deck of giant sphinxes, Anubis has been a fan favorite of most people who have followed the anime for many years, just because of the amazing and powerful presence he made in his first appearance in the movie. At number 9, we have Noah Kaiba and the Big Five. Noah Kaiba was Gozaburo Kaiba's biological son. He was supposed to be the successor and the heir of Kaiba Corporations until he got hit by a car. His body was left completely useless, but his mind was still active, and therefore Kaiba, Gozaburo Kaiba, was able to create a virtual world to instill his mind into so he could stay alive. With the help of the Big Five, former workers of Gozaburo Kaiba at Kaiba Corporation, Noah was able to lure in Mokuba and the rest of Yugi's crew and try to destroy them within the rapidly growing virtual world that was created for him. The great thing about these two antagonists is during the finale of this arc brought upon two of the greatest monsters that we've ever seen and have been fan favorites of many people throughout the years. First of these monsters was Five-Headed Dragon. That has been a fan favorite for years. It was the combined collection of the Big Five when they rewrote the code in the final battle of the virtual world against Yugi and his friends. The result of this dragon was an even bigger fan favorite because it was a mixture of two of the best and most popular cards in the game, being Black Luster Soldier, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, to combine Dragon Master Knight. With his own virtual world and two of the most powerful and favorite cards in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh, Noah and the Big Five definitely deserve the 9th spot on this top 10 list. At number 8, we have one of my personal favorite antagonists, and a lot of people's favorites, being Maximilian Pegasus, the creator of Duel Monsters and the first Yu-Gi-Oh antagonist. The reason Pegasus only comes number 8, but still made it to the top 10 list, is because he wasn't exactly the greatest antagonist, he wasn't exactly the most successful, but his overall character was amazing. His Toon deck was a favorite of almost all the people who watched the series. I know I loved his Toon deck, the animation, and the story that it brought, and the new mechanics and effects that it brought to the actual duels. It made them really interesting. And also his backstory and his history with Egypt and the Millennium Items was really great and added an amazing layer to the first story of Yu-Gi-Oh! Come on, how could you say it's not adorable / awesome that this little Toon cute little Blue Eyes can attack you for 3,000 directly and think nothing of it? Coming in at number 7 is Yubel, and Yubel is one of my favorites because for once in the entire series of Yu-Gi-Oh! We are presented with an unthinkable plot twist as he ends up being the main protagonist, Dual Spirit, which turns Jaden into the big antagonist in Season 3. Near the end of the second season, the characters learn that everyone has a Dual Spirit, which of course is represented as a monster card that resides in the Spirit Realm, so everyone thought that Winkaribo would be Jaden's. But no, they were wrong. Instead, Jaden is pulled into the spirit world and is taken over by his dual spirit, actually being revealed to be Yubel, and Jaden becomes the Dark Ruler. So his friends go to look for him, and you don't find out that Jaden is the actual villain or antagonist until way near the end. Yubel also holds some great storytelling value because he shifts the attention from Jaden, which brings a fresh sense of variety to the anime, as admittedly, it gets pretty dry at the end of Season 2. The thing I love about what they did with Yubel is he wasn't a normal antagonist, or the average antagonist that we've usually had in these series. At number 6 we have Bakura, and the reason he isn't higher, which I'm sure a lot of people are confused about, is because I don't like the way his character was kind of dragged out so much before he actually turned evil. We got little glimpses throughout the Duelist Kingdom when they were fighting against Pegasus, and we kind of got little glimpses of his evilness. We weren't really sure what was happening. We didn't really know what was going on. We just saw these glimpses of evil. What we later found out is the Millennium Ring that Bakura possessed was actually controlled by an evil spirit. The spirit was that of an ancient thief who was sought to take down the Pharaoh and was eventually revealed later on in the series when the episodes got to about 500. In my opinion, that's a little bit too long to actually drag out a character from him being like a little British bitch to eventually being the main antagonist. Was cool, but 500 episodes later is kind of a bit of a stretch. But in the end, he does redeem himself by eventually bringing out Zork, who people argue is one and the same. He is Zork, Zork is Bakura. But what ends up happening with Zork is not only does he take down the 3 Egyptian gods, but he actually takes down Exodia, which gives him a much higher set on this list than the other ones I mentioned. Coming in at number 5, we have Zone, the leader of Iliaster. Iliaster was a futuristic organization that was trying to save the futuristic world from its apocalyptic doom by going back in time and destroying New Domino City. He performs an operation on himself to look like Yusei and went back into the past to try to help people, but he failed. So therefore, he thought the only way to save the world was to destroy New Domino City. There are many things I like about Zone. One being his deck. The Time Lords are such a cool deck. They're powerful, they do burn damage, and they're just these monsters that are so powerful that they were actually designed that they can't stay on the field for more than once a turn, with the exception of Cephylon, their boss monster. The other thing I liked about Zone is how he pretty much revealed himself as a Yusei doppelganger, and that was a huge plot twist, which we don't see a lot of in the anime. We see some like plot twists, but they're usually really cheesy and shitty. But to have Zone as this big machine, and half his face cracks off and you see Yusei's face there, was just a complete mindfuck to me. Even though Zone wasn't actually evil. The only reason he was trying to destroy New Domino City because his future was pretty much apocalyptic. There was nothing there. I believe it was him and 3 other surviving humans that created this little cult that eventually sent themselves back in time to save the world. So in the end, to redeem himself, Zone destroys the thing that was threatening to crash itself into the city by sacrificing himself, basically acting as a martyr. He was the good guy. He wanted to save the future, but he was just a little misguided. Coming in at number 4 is Raphael from the Seal of Orichalco saga. And I know you guys might be wondering, why Raphael? Throughout the first season with Yami Yugi and Yugimoto as the main characters, people have always tried to corrupt them. Not only take them down, but they tried to turn them evil. People have tried to corrupt the purity in their hearts. And Raphael was the first one to actually do this successfully. Not only did he actually beat Yugi, he got in his head. He was the first one to actually get in his head and infiltrate his mind with evil, forcing him to play the Seal of Orichalcos using the exchange card and putting it into Yugi's hand. Even though Raphael was really only a pawn to darts, he has an amazing backstory which adds a complete new layer to the anime itself and the storyline, which I loved. But just the fact that he was such a prominent character, he had such a hard and dominant personality and controlling personality, he was actually able to turn Yugi evil, and that's a huge success in itself. Thus, in my opinion, making Raphael one of the most successful, even though minor, antagonists in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Coming in at number 3 was Rex Goodwin. And Rex Goodwin is one of my favorites because the guy had everything figured out. Rex Goodwin was a genius. He knew everything that was going to happen, when it was going to happen, and he had full control over it based on the power that he was given over his long con. If you're not familiar, a long con is when you gain people's trust over an extended period of time, days, months, years in this case. He rose to the top in power in so many different sections of the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Rex was head of Iliaster. He was a huge member and a huge figurehead in New Domino City, and nobody really knew about his dark past except for some very close people to him. Not even Jack, who was his, I guess, apprentice or supposed to be his successor, but really we found out was just a pawn in his plan, didn't know anything about him. Rex led the secret organization, Iliaster, that was tracking the Crimson Dragon to find the 5 signers to stop the Earthbound Immortals. But that wasn't what made him a genius. What made him a genius is that he was involved in everything else. He had everything under his control. He was head of sector security, and having that under his power pretty much made him almost untouchable, since he controlled all the security in the Yu-Gi-Oh series in New Domino City. We also learned that years before the explosion, alongside his brother Roman, Rex was the assistant to Professor Fudo during the Zero Reverse accident. In the English anime, Rex also claims to be the 5th signer, but it's not actually so. After Yusei defeats all the Dark Signs, Rex reveals himself to have become one during a duel with Roman, having the Condor birthmark on his back and control of the Earthbound Immortal rhnisker. Sorry, let's try that again. Rhnisker. Yeah, that one. Furthermore, he integrates his brother's arm onto himself to gain power of a signer as part of the plan to use both the Earthbound Immortals and the Crimson Dragon to recreate a world in his image. Now, of course, with every final boss, there has to be a final battle at the end of the series, and this final battle was one of the best in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Having to fight against Yusei, Jack, and Crow at the same time versus the Earthbound Immortals was such an amazing show. Plus, man, he's jacked, he's huge. We don't realize how huge this guy is, and when he turns evil, he looks sick. Closely coming to an end at number 2, we have Paradox from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, Bonds Beyond Time. Bonds Beyond Time was an incredible movie which brings together the 3 protagonists of all 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, being Yugi, Jaden, and Yusei for an ultimate battle. At the beginning of the movie, you see Paradox actually going through time, defeating Yusei, Jaden, and Yugi, and that's a huge feat in itself. Being able to actually defeat each of the main protagonists, which are the King of Games and some of the Chosen Ones, just defeating them like it's nothing. The only way these 3 protagonists were able to take him down was by collecting their powers together and uniting. Otherwise, they were completely defenseless and he stole all their cards. On the topic of Paradox taking all of their monsters, he introduced the Malefics to the world, and Malefics were some of the coolest monsters because they had the concept of banishing this monster and then bringing on an even more powerful version of it, and we didn't really understand until the actual movie came out and we got more information on the lore of them. So the fact that he could take down 3 of the most powerful duelists in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely sets him as the number 2 spot in this list. Finally, wrapping up this list at number 1, we have Marik Ishtar, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about Marik. Marik has probably come the farthest way, starting from the bottom, literally living underground, just protecting the Pharaoh's tomb with his family, knowing nothing about the outside world. The reason I love Marik the most is because he's the most relatable character and the most relatable antagonist in the entire history of Yu-Gi-Oh! What I mean by most relatable is Marik's transformation was the result of his curiosity with the world outside, which if you really think about it, is kind of everyone's very similar like that. So he is pretty relatable in that sense. Marik was a tomb keeper living underground protecting the tomb of the pharaoh, and one day he gets curious and leaves to see the outside world. He wanted to explore the world some more because he was fascinated by everything that was going on around him, but his sister Ishizu made him go back. His father ended up getting angry with him for disobeying the orders I guess he was given by his family and by the pharaoh to protect their tomb because he left his post, and eventually beat him. And this is where Marik's true evil side really comes out. When Marik's beaten, his true evil form comes out and he ends up killing his father, and this is the first time you actually see Yami Marik being created. He uses his signature Millennium item, the Millennium Rod, to control people's minds, and therefore creates the Rare Hunters to try to get the God cards back so he can have full control and eventually become Pharaoh himself. His psychotic demeanor and crazy facial expressions made him a fan favorite. Even though it creeped some people out, people loved how crazy and psychotic and corrupted this man was just because of the outside world. So I hope you guys enjoyed my top 10 list. Let me know who your favorite antagonist in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime series is in the comments down below. And if you want to see me make it to the next round of the Next Great YouTuber, don't forget to hit that like button. I'm rhnisker. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.